All right, so let's just rehearse this and see what happens naturally with him getting up. We have his bags here.
Rehearsal. Background.
And action.
This particular scene is me coming to the open range bar and grill to take Trevette to the airport because he's leaving for Quantico to do a training session with FBI agents.
Clarence overacted on that one.
He hasn't changed in 4 years.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
I'm not very much in this episode, but they wanted to make sure that the Walker family was there. So they designed this scene to tell the audience where Jimmy is while all of these wonderful things are happening in this 2-hour movie.
Brutally hot right now. It's really hot and it's over 100 degrees. It makes it a little bit difficult filming.
It's a great day to be in black.
Yeah, I know. I love black on the 100-degree days.
It's the sweat alert.
That's a bad face to see the wardrobe girl make. Guys, cameras up, please.
Okay, here we go. And
background.
The first day you're on set, it's a new character and you're always finding your ground, but everybody has been so lovely and so helpful.
Background. Action, Bo.
I feel very at ease being here.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hey, this is a big budget. We get playback.
My motivation to become a competitor was to hopefully win some local tournaments and get a write-up in the local karate magazine and hopefully get students that way. Never envisioning me becoming a world champion. That's how goals are. You set realistic goals, goals that you think you can accomplish. And once I won the LA Open, then my goal increased to the state, and then from the state to the national, then from the national to the international, and then to the world title.
it just got where I just felt every tournament he went to, he was going to win.
But if I'd have thought at that time when I was first started competing that my goal was to be a world champion, I would have never followed through.
Chuck won the World Karate Championship title 6 times in a row and retired from competition undefeated in 1974.
Hard work and discipline, those are 2 attributes that he brought to it. He never did anything halfway.
It was amazing when he became world champion 6 times in a row. Very amazing.
Chuck Norris is still one of the most popular and influential names in karate.
When he was granted the honor of Grand Master, the only Westerner to get that honor, that, to me, said something, about how the martial arts world embraces Chuck Norris.
Even the legendary Bruce Lee took notice of Chuck.
When I won the world title in New York City in 1968, Bruce was there. So we got acquainted and decided to work out together back in LA, and which we did for a couple of years. And then he left for Hong Kong to pursue a movie career. And I didn't hear from him for a couple of years, and finally out of the blue he calls me up. He says, I want to do a movie now with a fight scene that everyone will remember. And the fight scene will be in the Colosseum in Rome, like 2 gladiators fighting to the death. And he said, I'd like for you to be my opponent. At that particular time, I had no ambition to be an actor, but I thought it'd be fun to go over there and do this.
Bruce had a charisma on screen that I don't think anybody can match, and it was meant to be, those 2 being on screen together.
Bruce and I kind of ad-libbed the fight scene because we knew each other so well. So he said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'll throw this, this, and this, and this. He said, okay, I'll do this, this, and this. And he said, I'm not going to dominate this fight like I did all my other fights in my previous movies.
It was a classic fight scene, even for it stands up in time.
Kiddingly, I said, well, Bruce, who wins? And he said, I win. I'm the star of this movie. Every year, I have a black belt convention in Las Vegas.
Everybody will step in.
Where all my black belts come in from all over the world.
Well,
It might be hard.
right, absolutely. Staging of
So you got to stay. I would stay in the 27 feet area. I was trying to think of a name for our system, because Taekwondo is predominantly kicking. Well, our system is a mixture of hands and feet, but also blending jiu-jitsu, judo, a lot of different martial arts into our system. Chung Kuk Do means universal way. And I said, well, that's going to be our new system. Chung Kuk Do, and that's the name that we use today. I tell you, our Chung Kuk Do team gives one of the best demonstrations in the United States. What's amazing about the martial arts today is the youngsters and just how incredibly good they are today.
The Grand Master of Chung Kuk Do, our founder, Mr. Chuck Norris.
We have a week of seminars and finishing off with a gala. Now with the presentations, we give out awards to our black belts, and the final award is the Norris Award, which we give to a black belt who we feel has really dedicated their lives to not only the martial arts, but to our country and to people in general. It's really an honor to present the Norris Award.
It's something really funny and wonderful. They keep Whelan with them all the time. They tell me about times that they're out somewhere and they start laughing about what Whelan would have said, because Whelan was our comedian, about what Whelan would have said if he'd have been there with him.
He's the type of guy who would talk to anyone and had the personality more than Chuck and I both put together.
And they laugh because they're imagining Whelan is there with them, saying the things that they know he would say.
Good job, Dick. Thank you.
Stunt stuff is the exciting part of doing a show like this here. Being able to do a little my own stunt driving is exciting.
Cut.
I'm not sure what all my scenes are about today. Truthfully, I don't even know until I get called to.
Okay, guys, nice and quiet, please.
Okay, settle. And action.
Aaron's directed about 7 of my movies. He was my co-executive producer on the Walker series. And so we've worked together for many years.
My brother and I, we seem to think alike, so we work well together.
They have a way of communicating and blocking scenes out because nobody can do it better than them.
Aaron has always been the director, and it's just, they really take care of each other, and they truly enjoy working together.
When I know he's shooting that day, it's always a lot of fun because he and I we have a good time. We think alike, enjoy being around each other. We're very close.
I want him rested because there'll be days where he'll be putting in 16 hours. So.
Aaron's one of my best friends. I don't think we've really had a crossword with each other in all the years that we've worked together. He has a hot temper, but I'm his older brother. I'm 11 years older than him, so he doesn't direct that hot temper toward me.
Just came down and right to a nice tight shot of his face. That'd be into the scene.
Cool. When we started the show, there was a backlash because of the karate and their take on the amount of violence that Walker was responsible for compared to other shows.
Freeze! And they came out with like Violence Against America, and Walker was the most violent show on TV. And yet, as television evolved, as what was happening in the world, the one show that really prevailed because it had a core of virtue and integrity and honesty was Walker, Texas Ranger.
It was a family-oriented show. It had the action that the dads would sit down and watch, but not to the point where the kids couldn't watch it. And then the relationship with Walker and Alex and all the other characters, I think, brought the women in to view it as well. And I think that's why Walker had the longevity that it had.
Walker, Texas Ranger originally ran from 1993 to 2000. Before establishing himself on television, Chuck had actually been a big-screen action hero for 20 years, but making the transition from karate star to film star was not so easy.
How I got into the films in the first place is that I had 3 karate schools, and a company came to me and said, Chuck, if you'll sell these schools to us, we'll open up a chain of Chuck Norris karate schools nationwide, and you'll have 1,000 karate schools. And I thought, well, 2% of 1,000 schools is better than 100% of 3 schools. So I sold my schools. In 2 years, we were bankrupt. Lost my schools, and so I started teaching private lessons, and Steve McQueen being one of my students. And he said, well, what are you going to do now that you are no longer have karate schools? And I said, I'm not really sure yet. And he said, well, have you ever thought about the acting field? And I kind of laughed, but he said, I would encourage you to give it a try. Now, I'm teaching private lessons, but I'm just barely supporting my family at this stage. And I thought, boy, now here I'm 32 at that time, 33. And I thought, man, I don't know. I thought, I'll check out the karate, the acting schools and see what it cost. So I start checking them out, and it's like $600 a month, I thought, golly, I don't have that money. And I'll never forget, I went out for an audition for a part in a movie, and there's like 100 actors there trying out for this part. And a lot of them I recognized, I go, golly, I know him. I saw him on so-and-so and so-and-so. And I'm thinking about going up and getting their autograph, And I said, this is not going to work. So I wound up writing my own screenplay called Good Guys Wear Black. I started peddling that around Hollywood for 4 years. And finally, I found a production group that was willing to gamble on me. And I did a flying sidekick through the front windshield of a car. In 1978, that was kind of a big deal. Critics hated it, to say the least. They said I should get back in my karate school and start teaching again.
In those days, four-walling, where you go rent your own theaters, also wasn't, that was how we had to do it, because no one would buy our movie. So I would go and sit in a hotel room, and our movie would play in certain theaters that we had rented, and then all the money would come back to my hotel room, and we'd count it up and distribute it. And yeah, it was pretty fun days.
Good Guys Wear Black cost $1 million to make. We wound up being very successful. It did about $28 million gross domestically, and I wound up doing Force of One, where I played a world champion kickboxer, and then I did Octagon, which was the first ninja movie, and on and on. Using my martial arts in my films to help make them successful, my movies successful. And I was very fortunate to be one of the few to be able to do that.
Chuck was able to blend great character with exciting action. And because he was the real guy who didn't use the stuntmen, who did his own work, all of a sudden he became this big star that showed, I think, Hollywood, that there's a need and an excitement and a passion for it.